So, we're live. Not live, but
Oh,
we're recording at least.
good.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today I'm going to talk to Emrys Skye from Norwich. This is an amazing guy that I met back in 3 years ago, I think it was, in Sweden in a fair called the Miracle Fair, I think it was called. It's an amazing man. He's a Gong master and the founder of Spiritual Flow. And why don't you introduce yourself, Emrys?
Hello. Nice to meet you all. And thank you for that introduction, Lisa. I think we lost a year there. It might have been 4 years ago. I was looking it up the other day. It was 4 years ago since we
Ah,
last met. Yeah, yeah, amazing. But
really?
I will come and visit you in Greece, wherever you might, or wherever that may be at the time.
You must. You must. We
Yeah,
will make miracles together here.
you've got to be careful what you say there.
Well, I mean, you couldn't make the miracles with your wand and the lives, so we just have
Okay.
to make other miracles live in other
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, yeah. We'll make miracles. And certainly the earth needs miracles at the moment.
Exactly. So how come you started with the gongs? I mean, what introduced you to it, or if you tell us about that?
All right then. Well, I reckon we'll wind that back to when I was 6 years old. I was only thinking about this the other day. I was 6 years old, and my dad, he was quite aloof to me. He wasn't close, but I was his first son, and he gave me his trombone. He used to play trombone. So I was 6 years old, and he gave me this trombone, and he says, "You can play this." And I used to listen to his Louis Armstrong and other 78 records, those old Bakelite records. And while I was listening, I'd be tooting along with this trombone that was miles too big for me, but I managed to make it work. And so by the time I was 11 and I went to, I suppose we called it senior school over in the UK, I was able to play trombone, self taught. And I kind of started to get interested in joining little boys' bands, marching bands, and all sorts of things, playing that. Then a euphonium, then a bit of trumpet, and then I wanted to play the drums. And by the time I was 16, I was like wanting to play every instrument you can imagine. So and it just progressed. And in more recent years, when I was doing healing, Reiki, spiritual healing, I started to learn to play the gong, and that's really how it came to be. Music is in my blood.
Yeah, but so how come you started with the? I mean, because as I understand it now, gong is like, I mean, you're the gong master. So how come you took that road?
Well, healing, which is the aspect of the gong that I work with. The healing of the gong, really, my parents were healers, so it, it it just followed that I did healing with Reiki and spiritual healing, and I started to use instruments, singing bowls, tubes, vibrational chair, but the gong was by far the most powerful of all those instruments. And in point of fact, I mean, if you're playing a gong, you're getting the benefit of the healing, not not just the receiver here now, but the actual gong master is getting the benefit of playing that gong. And that's exactly what was happening for me. So if I had a if I had a niggle in an elbow or a knee or a groin or whatever it was, that would anesthetize the pain. The gong is an amazing instrument. It's one of those. It's a multi-frequency instrument, so it does lots of different things on different levels. And for me, it was all about healing. And in more recent years, I've started to work with the gong in a more, let's say, an extraterrestrial connection. So I'm looking all the time to expand the energy, to expand the frequency, and to work with energy that is further than just on this planet. Because let's face it, this planet is just a just a speck of dust in the sand of life, isn't it? There's
Yeah.
millions and millions of planets just like ours. We just do not have those connections at the moment, but we're starting to make them, and they're coming in thick and fast. And the Gong facilitates that, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, I tried your vibration chair or gong chair or whatever it was called when I was at this when we met 4 years ago,
You
and that
did,
was
yes.
yeah. I mean, that was just maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but I mean, I could really notice things happening to my body, and I'm not even sure that you were aware at that point that the law of vibration is the primary law of all the universal laws.
Yeah.
So I've been also wondering about if you use it as a treatment and how can you know which frequency a problem I mean, if you use it for healing purposes, for instance, I mean, do you just allow the gong vibration, or do you pick a special gong, or how do you tune into what is the proper thing to use if, for instance, if you have a problem with any.
Okay. Well, I work with intentional energy, so I would always say to somebody, make an intention of something that you would like to receive from the treatment. Now, if they say to me, well, they've got a couple of dodgy knees and that they would like some energy going that way, then that's where the energy of the gong will go. If they say that they would like to make a psychic connection with their third eye and actually make a connection with another energy elsewhere, then that's where that potentially will go. And it is about intention.
Yeah,
It's about being grounded and then connected. So and and somehow we have to get out of that mindset, and it's the mindset of some people will have it in their mind that they will just do this and this. If they shut their mind and start to work with their heart, get grounded more, and work through their heart center, then they will start to open up other opportunities. And intentions do that. And that's how it works for me. I couldn't. It's simple. There's no real one answer to that, except if you make your intention, it will happen.
yeah, but it's
And I know
interesting.
you'll know this.
Yeah, but because it's interesting that the scientists have discovered now that the heart has 40,000 brain cells.
Does it?
Yes.
Wow. Well, there
So
you go then.
you should. So I mean, the heart is actually thinking.
Hmm.
And I think when you do these meditations, and you put your hands to the heart like this, I mean, the more focus, I mean, and that's also the middle of the chakras. I mean, it's like the rooting and the spiritual, whatever you want to call it, the base at the top.
Yeah. Well,
So,
there you go. Well, I'll go for that because there is there we were having this discussion yesterday. I had a little group, and we were talking about how do we reprogram people's thinking at the moment, because we don't really want them to be thinking unless we can actually get them thinking in a different way, and then bring that back down to your heart center. So it's kind of dragging those thoughts down through our body, through the heart, down to the ground, and then basically setting those intentions for something different, and then bringing those back up from the ground, back through our heart, and then telling the mind that this is actually what we now want to be doing and not what it was doing before. And then the mind will now start to consider those. And if we do it enough times, it will understand that when we make that connection with the gong or other instruments, it will do what we've intended it to do. It's a very powerful instrument, Lisa. Very powerful.
yeah, because then you go into the subconscious. I mean, this is also what I teach, and everything comes from the mind about the perspective we have about anything. I mean, we
Yeah,
can choose this perspective or another, and however we look at things, it just is.
that's right.
Everything is vibrating. So that's why I find your work so amazing, because you do exactly what I do, but you do it from a completely different angle. And that's why I know that we will have some miracle working to do together, because it's like two schools if we call it like that, coming together make it even more powerful.
Yeah, yeah, we are starting to. We're getting results with sound, but we have been for a number of years. But we were we had a piece we had some crystal that we were working with yesterday, and I could see this crystal. It's call it a wand in its size, six six facets, and it was you could see you could see it, and I drew it, but this energy was swiveling around the crystal, and there was this light. It was like pulsing, and whilst most people won't see these things, you can actually feel the energy when you're playing and creating vibration. You can feel that energy. You can feel it going through your body, but it's going through other things as well on crystal. And if you make the right connections, say my hand was exactly 100 hertz, for example, a measurement of frequency. If I had something else that was also 100 hertz exactly, it would go through that hand because they would connect together. But we haven't got to that point yet. But if we start to get to that point, as human beings, then maybe we'll start to realize that there's more things out there than just what's going on at the moment.
I think we can do that already, because if you look at the science, if you have two rocks and you drop them in the water they are exactly the same, the rocks, and you put them in the water at the same time, and that frequency they create, when they meet, it it doubles or triples even. But if you
Yeah,
drop them unevenly, it just goes, they beat each other out, so it's dead. The energy goes dead, and that's when you meet people on different levels. If it's like we call them energy thieves or something. you
yeah.
know it's because
Well,
the vibration is different. So I think with your instrument, what you're doing, do you believe you can kind of unite people also, so they have this even same frequency, so when they meet they double the experience or the
yeah,
energy?
I agree with you, and I'm a bit like a child in a sweet shop at the moment. I've got all these gongs surrounding me, and I don't know which ones to go to next because they're all doing these amazing things. But they do start coming together, and the more I've been working with the gong, the more I've realised that making those perfect connections just increases every single day. I do make a lot of connections with that. To be fair, they're mostly connections now outside of what I would call the normal dimensions of work. So, for want of a better word, we could say we connect with the fifth or the sixth or seventh dimension. Um, but that evidence that we need to see to actually confirm that when it's not our mind and that it's something else, that's what I'm seeking. And I find that now with meditation that I get given evidence. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Um, about just after we met, I came back here, and I was meditating, and I was taken on a journey. And I was taken on a journey because I was questioning my ability to make connections, and also questioning perhaps why I was here. And I was shown a planet, and I didn't know at the time what that planet was, but I saw a whole, like a snake going. It wasn't a snake, but it was like a line in the shape of a snake, and it was thousands and thousands of energies that were all going to this planet, which was forming like a line. And when I arrived at the planet, the guides that took me there stepped back, and the energy on this planet said, "Why have you come here?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to join the lot that's queuing up coming back to this planet because that looks like it's on easy street. I wouldn't mind some of that. I've been working hard for you lot, so I'd like to come back." And he said, "That's not what we agreed." This energy said, "You did not agree to do that. You agreed to stop that from happening. And you also agreed to help them when they did transition so that they would return in a much better space." So I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that. Okay, I do agree. And whatever contract I agreed to, I will fulfill that now. I stepped back and off we went. And on the way back, the guide said to me, "Do you know where you have been?" Myself, no idea. And they said, "You've been to a planet called, or a star system called Sirius." And I said, "Okay." And I wasn't really that aware at the time. Sirius is a star system somewhere out there. And I said, "Okay, fair enough." And they said, we will explain how to find it. If you look through the line of Orion's belt, you will find Sirius." I thought, this is interesting. So eventually I figured out by not looking through it, but looking through the line of the three dots, which is Orion's belt, the
Yeah.
next dot further down was in fact Sirius, because I looked that up on a star chart. So that was the evidence that really confirmed that I'd received a good and strong and quite important message. And from that point, I was flying, and I've never looked back. It was I was questioning my position at that point, and they provided the evidence to move me forward. And I no longer question what I do. I know what's coming. I know I know things now that I didn't know before, and I will know what's coming next. And I will help, and I will guide, and I will inspire, and along with many other people, incidentally, that we are all there to do a
Yeah, I was
job.
going to ask you about that because, as I understand, you have these gong shower events, and I
Yeah,
will put the link for people so they can go there because you have them for free on your page called also Spiritual Flow. I will put a link for that's for free for all of you. I don't know how often do you have them.
the live ones might go out once at the moment. During our lockdown period, they were going out once a week, but they may be less now frequent, because there'll be other events that are in person next starting, well, we believe starting next week, so we'll see, but there
I
will
will give
be
the link
eventually.
so they can go because they can look at old ones as well, right?
They can, yeah. There's loads and loads and loads of old ones. Maybe look at some of the ones that are more recent. Um, the energies seem to be increasing and improving each
Higher,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, they do.
So the
And
people that come and join these gong showers, I'm, I will be happy if you can explain gong shower also. But I mean, yeah.
all
Anyhow,
right.
the people
Well,
coming
there you go.
there, what's the experience from them? Do you have some shared, afterwards, or what's the
Well,
energy of them? I mean, afterwards, what's the outcome?
well, I've just explained to you about my journey in a meditation.
Yeah,
Well, the Gong facilitates a journey. We could call it a meditation if you like, but it facilitates a journey. And for many people who go on a gong shower, or gong bath, as it's more widely known over here, but as they go on that journey, they start to experience messages, stories, um, things that they've not experienced before. One of the things that I would say is most people who sit in a live gong bath or gong shower, they will they will feel things happening to their body. They will feel perhaps tinglings. They will get it as if the energy was going over them in a shower, like the water was trickling over them in a shower. They will get that feeling. They might start to feel like they're levitating. They might feel pinned to the floor and go deep into the earth's crust. These things happen regularly. The levitation one's quite a common one, to feel like you are floating. The other one is to go on a journey into the stars. For some, like myself, that's quite common now, to actually go up into the stars and to meet other energies that are not of this planet, but maybe visit this planet on a regular basis for whatever reasons that they have. And that's what the gong journey will do. And as we go further in, there are people that come to my sessions, um, who have multiple sclerosis is one of the issues, but they may have multiple sclerosis, and they may be in quite serious pain with it. And the gong has the facility to help ease that pain, um, as part of a complementary treatment. And all they need to do is to just be in the vibration of that energy. Um, we
Do
don't,
they
as
also
you
put
know.
intention to heal or something?
Well,
Because I guess if you have the intention to go on the journey, you will go on a journey. Or if you have the intention to heal, maybe it's not so much the journey. Or how do you believe it works?
that's exactly what you do. You send yourself on the intention. So,
Yeah,
um, like I will expect somebody who might be suffering from multiple sclerosis to make an intention that perhaps they would like to go on a healing journey. Um, as you know, we're complementary therapists, so we have to make it very clear that the doctor is your first point of call, just in
of course.
case there's somebody out there that feels differently about what I'm about to say. But
That's
the journey with the gong will help you um, anesthetize some of that discomfort that you get from your ailment, whatever that might be. Um, and it will also, in some cases, reduce some of the issues that you may have. Um, I can't. Do you know there's a book? I just remembered this book by Hidden Messages in Water. Have you heard of this book?
No, I haven't, but I will look it up.
Okay, Hidden Messages in Water. Komoto, Dr. Komoto, he did experiments with vibration,
I
and when he
heard
put
about that though.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's well, his book is full of illustrations of how when good vibrations are played across water, this is how he did it. He
yeah,
froze he froze the water, and he looked under a microscope and he could see perfect crystal structure, a bit
exactly.
like a snowflake. When not so nice vibrations were played across water, perhaps the words that were not so nice words that
Exactly.
you could use, um, they would show fragmented crystal structures when he
Exactly.
froze that water. And this was really clever and very, it demonstrated an awful lot of positive aspects to vibration. And this is what the gong does. If you make a good intention and you set yourself up, you will get good vibrations across your body. I mean, we're not going to freeze ourselves to check it all out, of course.
No, but we're
But
made of water mostly, liquid.
yes, we are, and that's the reason for it, and therefore it does work. Um, I'm sure. I mean, I've heard many stories in the past about how Buddhist monks and Gregorian monks would sit around lakes and chant and create, and purify the water. These are all, quite ancient stories now. But Komoto did actually provide it in his book the evidence that you need to, many people need to see to actually to be given some confidence to know that it will work.
Yeah, and also all these mantras they've been using for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, Om, I mean, that's a vibration as well.
It is. It is. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going through all the chakras. So, I mean, and that is the primary law, the law of vibration.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah. Well, it is right.
everything is on frequencies. But I mean,
Yeah.
all these gongs, I mean, how do you know? I mean, I'm a bit curious about your gongs because of the frequencies. Are they tuned like an A or F or something like that?
Well, it depends who's produced the gong. So the most of the Chinese gongs, for example, they're open tuning. So they'll make the gong to a particular size, a diameter, and the material inside would be very similar each time they made it, and the weight would be very similar to the size and diameter. But that wouldn't be perfect. That they would tune that, but it wouldn't be to a perfected frequency. That's the Chinese, in the main, the way they make them. But the Europeans, they make them slightly differently. They tune their gongs. So Peisty and Oakham, for example, are two companies, might both be in Germany and Switzerland. They tune their gong to a vibration, a frequency. Um, they're highly tuned. Actually, they're rather nice gongs to play. Um, but then we get into all the gong snobbery because then they cost like a lot more money than a Chinese gong, and I believe I can get just as much out of a Chinese gong as I can out of my European gongs. But that's me, and that's by using different tools to do that.
Well, I think if I can say something about that, I think if it's made with love, I mean it. Uh,
Well, yes, she's right. Yeah, and
that's
that's
the
the,
vibration. I mean, how
yeah,
perfect
there
we
are
have to be.
yeah there are there's a lot to be said about making it with the right intention at the time. And to be fair, most of my gongs that have arrived from China have always had good vibration with them. I've only ever had a couple of poor gongs from China, and they've always been replaced because I've recognised that they don't play very well. But usually, and this is only the way it's been for me, but usually it's because they've not the balance was not right. So the size to the weight ratio was incorrect, and the gong would perhaps rush away like a piece of metal rather than like a beautiful sounding instrument, and that's the difference. To be fair, the Chinese in the main make very, very good gongs. We just have to recognize the quality of the intention and how we work with that gong once we've received it. And it's no
Exactly.
good just hitting it. You have to really, really work with your intention to make that a very, very powerful instrument.
Yeah. So what's the difference with that? I mean, if you go to this gong bath or gong shower online versus going to actually meet you in Norwich, or if when you come to Crete, uh, when you're, I mean, because the heart's electromagnetic field can stretch out meters out of your body, but you can still have emotions and notions of a person even if you're far away. I mean, you're in England now and I'm in Greece. We can still have this, but it's not as, you know what I mean? It's not this.
Yeah.
What's the
Well,
difference? Because you can still hear the vibration. You can, if you have the right speakers, I guess you can feel the vibration as well. But I mean, it's still the distance. What do you believe is the difference?
okay. So if we're talking about, we could call that distant healing. So I
Exactly.
could play, I can play the gong, and I can set the intention that that's going to head towards somebody in particular, um, or a group of people in particular. And if I make those intentions and they're willing to accept those intentions, which will strengthen their whole aspects of it, then I would call that a distant healing, whether it was with the gong or with the way I worked from my heartfelt healing from, say, Reiki or from spiritual healing, which is all, let's say, it's all the same thing. It's working with our intention. Um,
The
it's
butterfly effect, so to speak.
well, I could I remember doing some experiments here with some students. This was a few years back, and I put one student in another room, and I asked the other students to all direct their healing to the student in another room to one particular area of their body. That student in the other room, when we did these experiments, picked up, hello, little pussycat. The
Mhm.
student picked up exactly where that energy was being directed. Now, that student didn't know where that energy was going to go, but each time they got it exactly right because we directed our thoughts and
Exactly.
our feelings, and we then got that heartfelt feeling going straight to the area that we were directing it to, and they felt it.
Yeah, that's
Does
the
work.
big thing with intention and also the focus, because the focus becomes like laser. I mean, it's
Yep.
like you go to a supermarket, you know, and you turn around, it feels like someone's looking at you, you know, and you turn around and there is a person standing there looking at you, and then they turn their heads around, you know, just that focus. We
Yeah.
really, I mean, it's the mind and the intention becoming like
Yeah.
a laser, you know, so it's really amazing.
Yeah. It's a good example actually, but with you know if we was to all be, well, you know this, and I know many of us who will be watching this, if we all did this good intention work for the greater good of the universe and the greater good of the earth, my golly, how different this earth would be. David Attenborough wouldn't be needed anymore because we'll be doing it. So,
Exactly.
you know, we just need to get a grip and start to get more people directing this wonderful positive energy in the right direction, because we can make a difference.
We
We
can.
really can. The Gong does, and you do, and other people do their other stuff. We were talking about it earlier. Other people do their other stuff. Well, I call it shit, but you call it the same. But we're doing different levels of this work, and we can do something really good, really, really good for this planet.
All roads
But
lead
there
to
you go.
Rome.
Already, yeah, yeah. Well, in my case, they all lead to my Gong room here, and we,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So, as I understand, before the pandemic, you also arranged big fairs like where you live in Norwich, right?
yeah.
Where
I did, yeah,
people came from doing a lot of different spiritual work, healers, and so
yeah.
what?
That's right.
So do you believe
That's all.
that will start again?
Yeah, yeah.
Hundreds
They
of
will.
people, thousands. How many people were it? Was it?
Well, yeah, the big, yeah, the Norwich ones. Well, there are thousands of people out there that will attend these events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Exactly.
went to a couple in another county, and there was like 3,000 people came along in over the weekend. In the Norwich area, we have over 1,000 people will come and visit for the weekend. Um,
So do you believe it will
we,
start again?
well, it will, because I haven't mentioned this to you, but I'm working with somebody to get them up and running again in Norfolk, and I'll be helping them to do that. And we've got some dates now, but we haven't released those to the public because they're still waiting for the announcement on Monday. But when we know on Monday, there will be some announcements made with some events, not just the mind, body, and spirit, but we're also looking at some workshops as well, but big workshops that will bring, say, 100 people along at affordable prices, not the ridiculous events that charge a fortune. These are events that will bring a lot of energy to one place and to start building it and putting the vibrations out there. And we're going to be doing those. Um,
So will you put
we're going to,
that? Will you put the ads on, or will you give that information in on the page Spiritual Flow, or how?
yes,
Because I'm sure many people here are interested. So where
yeah,
will they get the information?
yeah, both on Spiritual Flow, the website, and also on Spiritual Flow on Facebook, and some of the other groups as they get pushed around into the
There is a
groups.
group also called Spiritual Flow. Is that your group as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
quite a
So
small group. I started that a few years ago. There are some bigger groups that have got a lot more followers. So Mind Body Spirit and Mind Body Spirit Events, they've both got several thousand followers, and they're probably the ones that there's a lot of other stuff on there as well. But they're the ones where I would also use. But in the main, my page, Spiritual Flow on Facebook, is the one that will has got about I don't know 6,000 people following it now. So there's quite a lot of people follow that group or that
yeah,
page, I
because
should say.
I think for now the most important. I mean, we can put the links to all of those
Yeah, yeah,
communities under this video later. But I think for now, I mean, to actually participate in one of your baths, gong baths or gong showers, to get the
yeah,
experience from it, to see how it feels and
yeah.
how it works, and to get to know you better. And I also know that you just released a book.
You do, you do. I did.
Yes, you
I
told
have.
me. Yes.
I did. I have. Yes. Um. Well, for the
Is that about vibration as well?
yes, you know. you know, I said to you about this trip. I went off on meditation. I ended up going to Sirius, and so
Mm-hmm.
everything changed from that point. Everything, including the messages I started to get, and the messages were very powerful. So I started to write them down. They then came in poetry form, and every morning I would wake up. I'd write poem after poem after poem. I've got about 500 poems in this in my collection, and so I decided, after much pushing from other people, to actually put them in some of them into a book, and that was released a couple of weeks ago. Um, and I've sold quite a few, and quite a few nice people have made some very beautiful comments about it. So it clearly has been quite a journey for me, but that's not the end of the journey because, do you know, maybe
Just
this
the
is just me.
beginning.
It's the beginning because
Yeah.
there's no end to this journey. I've got another 16 books to write, apparently. So I've started to write more, um, but not necessarily just poems, but connections with Arcturian beings, connections with Sirius beings, connections with other energies and so forth. It's a real big journey. It's
So
never
you
ending.
believe the gongs help you with this vibration to reach these frequencies?
Blimey, do they? Yeah, of course. Yeah, they really do make a difference, Lisa. They make a big difference. I can feel it. I can. Do you know? I moved when I was doing this video. I moved from my cabin. I thought I'd just wander into the forest, the adjoining wood here.
Hmm.
And and when I look back at my cabin, I've got a ginger cat, and it was sitting on top of the roof. It's a big cabin, very high, and it just sits there like a dragon. It wants to be on top of that roof because when I play the gongs, that cat loves it. It just sits there
It's
like a
really
dragon.
interesting that you say that because just before, when you probably walked out of there and had this dragon experience, I was talking about this book for my child that I found in Florida, which has its Reiki experience that was mind
Right.
blowing. But we're not going to go into that story, but I just had to.
It's a lovely illustration of a dragon as well.
Yeah, I don't know how to use it yet. I haven't started because I don't know what to put in it. But I had just had to have it. It's a long story. I can take my own stories at another point. But speaking of the dragons,
Sure.
because that was at probably the same moment as you had this experience with the cat, and it's just like wow, interesting.
Yeah, and you know, when people come here, because we I do put events on here in the cabin as well. When they come here, that one or two people have started to say, "Do you know there's a dragon sitting on top of your roof?"
Hmm.
Because they feel it. They actually feel and sense a dragon's, and it's permanently there. It's permanently there. It's lovely.
So if you want to come on an event in your house, then what do you have to do?
Well, that well, we do. We've got. I'm actually training half a dozen people in 2 weekends' time. So we've got some potential um, Gong practitioners arriving, and we're getting them on their journey. So I'll be doing that, and so that's one aspect.
So you're
I'll also
teaching.
advertise.
So
Yeah,
if
that.
anyone wants to become a Gong practitioner and eventually Gong master like you, it's kind of
Yeah,
training for that in Norwich.
yeah. We're ideally situated for people that are able to get to us in the Norfolk area of the UK. But of course, there is a campsite here as well. So if they was to turn up, they can stay in a tent or in a caravan or whatever it is, back of a estate car, whatever. So there is facility here to do that. So it's really good. It's a lovely spot here, and they will learn to play the gong, and the journey's never ending. Trust me. You buy one gong, and it's never ending. You could have 100 gongs and not be satisfied. You want more. You want more.
Ah, of course.
Always want more.
So
Do you
if
know? I never.
anyone wants to be a trainee of yours, I mean, do they write you a mail or how does it work? How often do you
Well,
have courses? I mean, how does it work?
well, this one's a hangover from last year's lockdown that we experienced in the UK.
All
But
right.
there will be another one advertised on the Spiritual Flow website, spiritualflow.com.
Mhm.
Um, and it hasn't been decided yet, but that'll probably be around September time. Um, and we work with, say, 5 to 6 people um, in the space here. We've got about 30 gongs that you can play. Um, they're a combination of the Chinese and the European gongs, and they go away all gonged out. They really are. They have a fantastic weekend with us, and their journey with the gong has begun, and it's wonderful and it's lovely to see. I've got several students now that have got several gongs, and it's a bit like yoga. It's infectious. Somebody said to me, "Oh no, you don't want to be teaching people the gong because there'll be too many gong players, and then the competition will be too great." And I said,
Ah,
"What a load of rubbish!"
there's no
I said,
competition.
"There's no exactly every village, every town, every city will have a
Exactly.
gong master, and this is how it works."
With
And
10
can you
Gong
imagine?
Masters.
Yeah, they'll be everywhere. They'll be just as popular as yoga. In fact, it is part of
Exactly.
yoga anyway. But yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, of course.
yeah,
It's marvelous. So if we sum it up, if you want to buy the book from Emrys, you go to, I will put the link. It was 9.95 pounds, was it?
yeah. On the website,
Want to
yeah,
have
yeah.
these messages from Sirius or just from the spiritual world, or
Sorry,
what
I missed that last bit.
the poem? It was messages. Was it from only from the guides who you met at Sirius, or was it just spiritual messages coming through? Or
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a combination of themes,
all
but
right,
it's about inspiration. So that the inspiration was I awoke to be inspired by my soul. It's about inspiration. And so there's a lot of poems in there that is about opening your heart center, about getting out there and doing it for yourself, and not listening to all that chatter in your mind, the monkey mind nonsense
yeah,
that so many people get caught up in. It's
yeah.
about getting out there. And these poems are driving people to do the right things and connecting. Some of them are extraterrestrial messages, like the Sirius you mentioned, but most of them are about journeys. Most of them are about inspiration. What can I say? It's all
Awesome.
about getting out there.
So it's perfect morning routine book to read a little bit, or just to have.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess you don't want to read them all at once. You just want to maybe study them and get inspired by one at a time or something like that, just to like get them
yeah,
inside you or something.
yeah. Certainly, I wasn't considering talking about the poems, but when you consider what a poem is, it's basically a story. And each one it's a unique story. That there's some of my poems are 3 lines long. So they and you might say, "Oh, blimey, that's not very long, 3 lines." But actually, they tell a story. Some of them, they they would be called, they would call those a haiku, because it's the Japanese form of writing. But you can also write what they call tankers, which is slightly longer, maybe I think it's 5 or 7 lines. And again, it's a story. And so a poem, a poetry, a piece of prose is a story, and everyone can do it. It's not just me and being inspired by that story I said to you about Sirius.
Mhm.
There's more to it. You can just sit in the quiet and you'd be amazed what you would write. You really would. Get out there, folks. Get out there and write a poem.
Exactly. And if you want to buy this book, it was 9.95 pounds, and I will put the link there as well.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. It sounds really interesting. I mean, all of it is interesting. You're a very interesting man. That's why I wanted to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear that clock tower?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just perfect. So how do you want to wrap it up? Do you have some final inspiration or encouragement or something to say about vibrations or
Well, let's just say that we, when we're born of the earth, we're pure. The minute we arrive, things start to change. We're conditioned. We're told to do this. We're forced to do that, and all these things. It goes on and on. We can break that mold, and we can break it really quickly by just being authentic within ourselves. Get out there and start, doing your thing, doing it the way you want to do it. That's what I did, and that's why I'm here today playing the gong, because I'm following the path that I want to do and not what I'm being told to do. And that's made a big difference in my life. I can assure you it has. Abundance when I need it, and not, I don't worry about the fact that, next week I've got to pay the rent. I just know that if I do the right things, abundance will come to me when I need it, and not overabundant. I'm not going to get vast quantities of food chucked at me or vast quantities of money. It's just when I need it, and I keep on to that path. It works. It really works.
it does? We
Yep,
always get what we need, or we have already what we need. That's
yep.
also just a matter of frequency.
And you know what? Every so often, if somebody else, I bump into somebody on the street, as simple as somebody might need something, and I recognise that, I might offer them something. I don't need anything in return, but one day that will come back to me in abundance. Somebody will offer something to me. It's the
Exactly.
way it works. It's one of those universal laws that you were talking about.
Givers gain.
Hmm.
That's how it is.
There you go.
All right. So I thank you so much for being here. This has been a really interesting conversation, listening to you. And we will also post all these links to your web page, maybe your email address, and all this, the book, and your page with the gong bath, gong showers.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, of course. All right. I wish you the best day over there.
Thank you. And to you too. I mirror everything you say. Thank you.
Yes. All right. And for all of you out there, if you have any questions or anything, you just write the questions and Emrys will answer them if he can. I'm sure he can. And see you next time. All right. Mm, bye.
Bye.